The first day of school always carried a certain weight, but for Emily, it felt heavier than usual. She had just transferred to Westwood High after her father's job had forced the family to relocate once again. Moving from city to city had become a painful routine, and each new beginning came with the same anxiety: new faces, new hallways, new teachers, and the fear of being judged before anyone even knew her. She kept her head down as she walked through the bustling corridor, clutching her notebook close to her chest, hoping not to draw any attention. Her simple outfit, a white blouse and a modest skirt, wasn't meant to impress anyone, only to blend in. But sometimes, the cruelest people in school didn't need a reason to notice you. Emily felt the first brush of hostility before she even reached her classroom. A group of girls with heavy makeup and sneers whispered loudly as she passed. "Look at the new girl," one of them hissed, tugging at her friend's sleeve and laughing as if Emily's very existence was a joke. Emily ignored it, walking steadily, but her heartbeat betrayed her calm exterior. She knew all too well that ignoring bullies didn't always mean they would ignore you back. In fact, it sometimes made them more determined to break you. The first 2 classes passed without much incident, but by lunchtime, trouble had already found her. Emily carried her tray to an empty corner of the cafeteria, hoping to avoid the noisy crowds. She had just begun eating when a shadow loomed over her table. Well, the new girl thinks she can eat alone like some princess," a tall boy jeered, his friends laughing behind him. Emily glanced up briefly, recognizing him instantly as the type who fed off humiliating others. His name was Derek, and he was infamous for making weaker students cry. He leaned closer, pretending to sniff the air around her. "She smells like fresh meat," he announced. The cafeteria erupted in laughter. Emily gripped her fork tighter but kept her gaze on her food, refusing to give him the satisfaction of a reaction. But Derek wasn't done. He reached over, poked at her tray, and knocked her juice over the edge, spilling it across the table. "Oops!" He smirked, his friends roaring louder. Emily calmly set her fork down, cleaned the mess with a napkin, and remained silent. She had promised herself she wouldn't cause trouble on her first day. She could endure this. For now. By the time the final bell rang, Emily was drained. She headed for her locker, eager to escape the building before Derek and his crew found another excuse to harass her. But fate wasn't on her side. As she walked down the nearly empty hallway, she heard footsteps behind her. A mocking whistle pierced the air. She froze. Then came the words that made her stomach twist. "Hey, new girl, nice skirt. Mind if we play with it?" Her pulse quickened, but she forced herself to keep walking. The footsteps grew louder, faster. Suddenly, a rough hand tugged at the hem of her skirt, pulling it upward just enough to expose her thighs. Gasps and laughter echoed from the 3 boys surrounding her. Derek's smirk was plastered across his face as he grabbed another handful of fabric, yanking harder this time. "What's under here, huh?" Emily spun around, her eyes burning with controlled fury. "Let go," she warned, her voice calm but sharp. The boys only laughed louder. "Or what? You'll cry to the teacher," Derek taunted, tugging again. Another boy reached for the waistband, clearly pushing the boundaries of humiliation. In that moment, something inside Emily snapped, not from fear, but from the cold fire of rage she had kept hidden for far too long. Her hand shot out faster than Derek could react, clamping around his wrist with an iron grip. He chuckled at first, thinking it was a weak attempt to stop him. But then Emily squeezed, twisting sharply. A sickening crack echoed through the hallway. Derek screamed, dropping to his knees, clutching his arm. His friends froze in shock, their laughter dying instantly. Emily's eyes glinted with controlled fury as she shifted her gaze to the second boy who had reached for her skirt. Without hesitation, she stepped forward, grabbed his wrist, and twisted in a swift motion that sent him howling in pain as his bones gave way. The third boy stumbled back, eyes wide with terror, as he realized what had just happened. The hallway was silent except for the cries of the 2 bullies writhing on the floor. Emily stood tall, her breathing steady, her expression calm but unyielding. She looked at the last boy, her voice cutting through the air like a blade. "Do you want to try too?" The boy shook his head violently, backing away before sprinting down the hall. Derek was still clutching his broken wrist, cursing through his tears. You psycho! You broke my arm!" Emily crouched down slightly, her gaze cold and unwavering. "You played with the wrong girl," she said softly, almost like a warning carved in stone. By the time teachers rushed to the scene, chaos had already unfolded. Derek and his friend were sent to the nurse's office, still crying in pain, while Emily was escorted to the principal's office. Whispers spread like wildfire through the school. The new girl had just destroyed the untouchable bullies who had tormented everyone for years. Some students were shocked. Others were thrilled, secretly cheering for the justice Emily had delivered. In the principal's office, Mr. Harris leaned across his desk, frowning deeply. "Emily, do you realize how serious this is? You've injured 2 students badly." Emily sat calmly, her hands folded in her lap. "They tried to humiliate me," she replied. "They crossed a line." Mr. Harris sighed, rubbing his temples. "That may be true, but violence." He stopped mid-sentence, realizing something unsettling in Emily's gaze. She wasn't scared. She wasn't apologetic. She was in control. It dawned on him that she wasn't just another frightened girl lashing out. She was someone trained, someone dangerous if provoked. When Emily finally left the office, the halls were buzzing with eyes that followed her every step. She could feel the shift in the air, the fear, the awe, the curiosity. She had exposed herself, and there was no going back. But she didn't regret it. Not for a second. As she walked out of the building into the fading light of evening, Emily whispered to herself, "Never again." Never again would she let anyone toy with her, belittle her, or treat her like prey. She wasn't prey. She was the storm they had never seen coming. And the bullies of Westwood High were about to learn the hard way that some girls were untouchable. Not because they hid in silence, but because they carried strength no one could shatter.